Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. I am Simon Javan Okello, and I am in Seattle, Washington, and I'm really excited to be here with you for another truly amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. We do this every single day, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and today we have a proverb from Kenya. And I see Jacob on stage, who is from Kenya, so this is going to be great. I see that here on Clubhouse, we have Dr. Cynthia Graham as well, Heba, Patrice, Ade, and I see Zizi has also joined us. We are live streaming this conversation on YouTube as well. So on YouTube, I see that we've been joined by one guest. I don't know who it is yet, but today's proverb is really, really amazing. It's also my latest Instagram post. So if you go to my profile, my Clubhouse profile, and scroll to the bottom, you will be able to see what my Instagram, what the link to my Instagram profile is. And once you get to my Instagram profile, you'll be able to engage with this proverb. Quite a few people who can't make it to the room today are just leaving their comments there, and I respond to them. But I am also live tweeting today's conversation. So if you're on YouTube and sometime you feel like I'm not looking at you directly, it's because I am live tweeting at the same time. I do see that Joanne Onyango Obunga, who is an amazing supporter of the Daily African Proverbs, and Joanne is going to be our guest at the end of our conversation here on Clubhouse. And once the live stream on YouTube ends, we have an Instagram recap of the Daily African Proverbs. And today's guest is going to be Joanne Onyango Obunga, who is joining us from Nairobi, Kenya. And just before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Happily Peaceful, who just joined us. He's been an ardent supporter of the Daily African Proverbs, Raphael, and I see Heba joining us for the first time, I believe. So welcome, and Patrice, welcome as well. I invite you all who are on Clubhouse to join us on stage if you can, because at 6:30 a.m. we will be turning off hand raising. So this is a good time for you to join us so that we can hear your interpretation, because once I share what today's proverb is, I am going to share what my interpretation of the proverb is, and then we are going to hear from all of you, especially on Clubhouse, who can respond to what your interpretation of this proverb could be. The proverb says, confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole. Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole. Yeah, this proverb is very nice for the first day of the month. Today is September 1st. And, today I picked this proverb, like 2 hours before this room opened. So it's really, really fresh. I just took a lot of the time maybe in the 2 months ago, I used to schedule all the proverbs in advance. But I went back to what I used to do originally, which is whenever I wake up, I pick a proverb that resonates with me, that also applies to what the day is. So a lot of the time, before I even open before I pick which proverb we are going to discuss, I also go online, look at the news, what's going on, and I pick a proverb that I feel is relevant to the order of the day. So confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole. For me, I just wanted to share this proverb with you all, especially today as we begin this new month, so that you think about who you are confiding your secrets with, or important issues. Who are you discussing important issues with? And are they allowing you to be vulnerable enough so that you fully share what it is that you'd like them to hear, in order for them to give you feedback, or in order for them to just know what you're working so hard on that you don't want everybody else to know, that you just want them to be the custodian of this information temporarily while you figure out whether everybody else deserves to know about this. I was talking to a very close friend not too long ago about their boss, who they had confided, as a career strategy with. And within hours, somebody else was talking to them about the same thing. Somebody else from within their team was talking to them about the same thing. And, this friend of mine was really, really discouraged. He wanted to quit the job that he was doing, but he was so far deep that he could not quit. So he is currently looking for alternative positions within the same company, or to actually leave the company or even the industry, because of the fact that his boss that he entrusted with his plans and things that were important to him and the company as well could not keep his mouth shut. So that's my interpretation for today's proverb. And typically, I introduce the guests that join us, and when I have my co-moderators here, they also introduce some of the guests that join us. So I'll do that with Jacob, and I encourage you, if you're in the clubhouse room, to join us on stage. But if you're on YouTube, thank you for joining us. I really, really appreciate your company, and please type your thoughts in the chat so that we can also engage over here. Now I want to introduce Jacob Oyugi, who has been a very consistent supporter of the Daily African Proverbs, and Jacob has also joined us for the Instagram recap of the Daily African Proverbs in the last few weeks. I know that Jacob is a filmmaker. He's a Kenyan creative media entrepreneur and owner of Ayo Films Limited. He's a video director of photography, he's a producer, director, storyteller through the lens. My brother, this is amazing and important work, especially now in the world. Storytellers are the people that are helping, and I feel like this room is a room of storytellers, and I want to hear what you have to say about this proverb. Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole. But before you share, I just also want to remind everyone joining us for the Daily African Proverbs that this space is a space for everyone. It doesn't matter your religion, it doesn't matter the country you come from, it doesn't matter your financial status. What's important for us is that we are making our ancestors proud, and we are making them smile, because discussing African proverbs and gaining African wisdom by the end of our conversation every day is truly important, and we want to keep this space, safe and healthy and fun and enjoyable and sacred for everyone. So thank you, and Jacob, the mic is yours. Share with us your interpretation. This is Simon speaking. I cannot hear Jacob for some reason. Chido, could you unmute? I just want to see if you're there so that I hear your voice for a moment to confirm whether it's the audio, the clubhouse audio.
Hi, Simon. Yes, I couldn't hear Jacob either. I can hear you perfectly.
That's great. Well, we'll give Jacob a moment so that he can get ready before he can join us. But again, welcome everyone to the Daily African Proverbs. I want to introduce my wonderful, amazing sister and colleague and co-creator of this space, Chido Samantha Mbavarira. And Chido, is a pillar to the Daily African Proverbs. She's from Zimbabwe originally, but she lives in Canada. She's also spent time in Europe, and she believes that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This is another amazing African proverb. Chido is an online business strategist by day and also being human on Clubhouse by night. Thank you so much for being here with us, Chido. The mic is yours. Please share with us your interpretation.
Thank you, Simon. Hello, Jacob. So good to see you on stage. I see so many people that make the space so special. I see Dr. Cynthia Graham, Susie, Raphael. My brother Happily is here. He always makes me so happy. He looks so cheerful in that picture. I love it. Tara, Sean, Joan. It's always a pleasure to see your faces. Today's proverb, so powerful. Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying a grain in a bag with a hole. A beautiful proverb from Kenya. And when I read this and I started reflecting on what this proverb means, it reminds me of something I'm practicing a lot. When I meet new people, I think we're so excited to share our stories. And I think Brene Brown, who's one of my favorite authors, she has an amazing book I read every year called Gifts of Imperfection. And she reminds us that not everyone has the right to hear our stories. There comes a certain level of trust and vulnerability when we open not just the amazing parts of ourselves with other people, but some of the parts that are more hurtful and some of the parts that have really defined or shaped who we are. When I look at the relationships in my life, I really do want to find my people where I can show all the parts of myself, the beautiful, the hurt, the broken, the sad parts as well. And I think this proverb really speaks to finding those people, finding the people who can carry your secrets and carry your stories, but more importantly have earned the right to hear your story, because not everyone has that right, and that's something I'm very cognizant about. And the people who do know my story know parts of myself that I sit in that is hard for me to share. Those are my people. They're the people who've gotten that right, and I hold them close. And it is definitely reciprocated, because I've shared those parts of myself because they have done the same. They have also shared their parts of themselves that I am privy and privileged to know about all the sides of themselves. And that's what makes the friendships I have in my life so beautiful, is because we're allowed to come and show up as we are, which is what I think we all want to do in this world, is to be accepted for exactly who we are and be allowed and be given permission, sometimes just from ourselves, to show up as we are. So I really love this proverb. It definitely speaks to a lot of practices that I'm doing within myself. So it definitely resonated for me. The ancestors are always on time. So I appreciated this proverb and how it showed up for me. That was my interpretation of the proverb. I'm thrilled to see Dr. Cynthia, Zizi, and Raphael on stage. I just want to check in with Jacob. Jacob, if you're available, if you can hear me, do you want to flash your mic so I know you're available to contribute to the discussion? If you could flash your mic and let me know you're available, I would love to introduce you. If not a problem. I can go ahead and introduce Dr. Cynthia. Jacob, if you're not available. Okay, I don't think Jacob is available right now. So I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Cynthia Graham. Dr. Cynthia Graham is a psychiatrist on the back 50, living on purpose, mindfully awake and loving the journey. ecstatic about finding the clubhouse community. Dr. Cynthia, I hope you found a community here. I know I've seen you in our space multiple times, and what's very interesting about Dr. Cynthia, guys, she draws upon the deep connection to my diasporic ancestors. So I hope you found yourself in the right place. Dr. Cynthia, the proverb today is a beautiful proverb from Kenya. Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying a grain in a bag with a hole. I yield the mic onto you.
Well, good morning. Good morning. I am just so ecstatic and excited to be here. I've been away for a while. I am enjoying the journey, but am transitioning from the DC area to Atlanta. And life has been a little bit crazy, but I have missed this space so very much. And glad to come on this day when we are discussing the proverb, confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying a bag with a hole. The thought that came to me immediately was that the thing that I do as a psychiatrist is to carry secrets. And it is so critically important for the integrity of my work and for the trust that my patients place in me to make sure there are no holes. There has to be integrity of that bag so that what people tell me in confidence is always kept um, as the precious, holy gem that it is. Some of it's pretty, some of it's not so pretty, but it is people's stories, and they are to be respected and valued by making sure those holes stay patched. In fact, some people wonder, they'll tell me something in therapy and talk to my husband and say, you didn't know so and so? Absolutely not. I don't talk to my husband or anybody else about anything you tell. So that is the thought that came to me, but also, I guess, to elaborate a little bit more on that idea, what the question came to me, so what should the bag be like that we entrust, that we um, invest our secrets in? And so my imagination took me to, a bejeweled, beautiful container that is solid and has not only has no holes, but has no leaks, has no anything that could possibly injure the other person who has placed their secret in that receptacle. And and so I think about my friends that way. I have some amazing friends who call me out when I need to be. I call them out when they need it, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I think about this bag with a hole. I replace that with my friends. As Cheeto said, it is an amazing privilege to have friends who you can trust. You can be yourself. You can show up with all of your stuff, whatever it looks like, however it smells. I mean, it's just who you are, and know that you're not going to be judged. And so that is I don't know if it's an interpretation, but these are my thoughts, and I'm finished speaking.
Sheeta speaking. Dr. Cynthia, you just took me back to my first therapy session with my therapist and how it was very vulnerable to say stuff that I've probably never said out loud to anyone, and how that space is so needed for so many people and we just don't have it. So going to get therapy or speaking to somebody who's equipped to listen and be safe is so important. A lot of people don't have that in their life. So I love the work you do, because you're really honoring people's stories and giving them a space to unpack. So your work is so needed, and I love how you aligned this proverb with the work you do. And something came out for me because you were saying, okay, if the person is carrying your secret, what is the bag? And I immediately thought about my friends in certain cultures going to get therapy. A lot of people would love to get a therapist or talk to somebody of their nationality, but there's already a stigma with getting therapy with your own nationality because there's this fear that it would go out. There's this extra level of shame, I think a cultural shame, that somebody else who may have the same religious background as you or same culture or nationality will actually judge you if you go to therapy and kind of show these parts of yourself which may be against societal norms. So I know that's also a very big hindrance for people culturally, just even going to therapy or even talking about what is their deepest secrets. I think of my mother's sister or how we were raised, and I think there's that notion of keep secrets in the house. Don't tell people your problems. Don't go and tell people what's going on in this house kind of mentality with a lot of I know African culture and I know African American culture of we keep stuff in the home, and there's so much shame in going and opening up our stories and secrets, which come from such a deep rooted cultural historic connotation for many of us. And I think one of the barriers to opening up or even seeking professional help is that a lot of us have been raised not to speak about our secrets, not to speak of what goes on in our household. So I think that's something a lot of people are trying to unlearn and become vulnerable and share those secrets in those safe spaces. So I appreciate so much what you do, and especially for Black people, African diaspora, we definitely need to have spaces where we can open up about what's in our lives. So I very much appreciate you coming up and sharing with us. Thank you. I get the pleasure of introducing Zizi. Zizi, I need to know where you are in Canada because I'm in Calgary, so I think you're probably in the East Coast. But Zizi is an Egyptian Canadian educated in the USA. She's also a retired clinical psychologist and spiritual healer of 35 years of experience. So Zizi, I'm sure just like Dr. Cynthia, you've heard a lot of stories and you take your teaching and your profession very seriously. I'd love to know how this proverb spoke to you today. Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying a grain in a bag with a hole. I pass the mic on to you, Zizi.
Oh, Shido, I love you. I love Simon. I love Tara, Raphael, Dr. Happily, Sean, John, Kay, Yemer, and Karim, and all of you. Patrice, C, Heba, Talib, Bama, and Ayajaji. I feel so much for what you said, Shido. I'm in Canada, in Ottawa. So maybe one of these days we can get together. That would be beautiful. Ottawa, Canada, and Ontario. So I'd love to see you. Anyway, this is a very, very important proverb because you face that as a professional and as a human being. And I think particularly now on Clubhouse, because we do develop friendships and we do develop, close relationships with people that we only know through their voice and through their presence. So I think we need to be doubly sure before we share intimate facts that we don't want to spread them around. Like if you have nothing to hide or whatever. But I wouldn't go and tell, professional secrets to someone on Clubhouse that I've only known a few months or a year or so, because it's just not the place. Secrets are for people that you really are sure it's not going to fall off from the hole in the bag there. Because I believe sometimes, unless you're talking to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and they are very professional and ethical, as soon as something comes out of your mouth, it's going to be spread out so widely you can't even imagine. So maybe it's best not to say things rather than say them, and share them with a professional, but not unless, of course, you have. But I still have like best friends who, as soon as I tell them something, I hear it from other people. Not that they mean badly, but it's just human nature to think that, once I say something that's open for a complete disclosure. So I love this proverb, and I think we should be very, very careful about trusting even trusted friends, not because of anything, but because once it comes out of your mouth, it will come out of her mouth or his mouth. So share only knowing that what you share is going to be public. If you're okay with that, share it. If you're not, then don't. Thank you very much for allowing me to share.
Cheetah speaking. Thank you, Susie. You're very shared a lot of caution with us and opening yourselves up and making sure it's a safe space, because when you do that, you can actually invite more harm than good. Um, it's interesting because I do have everyone. I think everyone has that one friend who overshares in their life. That one friend who you can leave and you come back to the table has already told everyone their life story and secrets. And I've always been so fascinated with people who are just so open to share their secrets. And something that I do a lot now is I talk to listen and learn. I really try not to bring in my own thoughts and beliefs into somebody opening parts of themselves. I find that so endearing because I'm the opposite. I'm very close guarded, and I envy people who can show up and tell these stories without flinching. I think can be a blessing and a curse. And when I meet people who trust me enough to share themselves, I always remind myself it's not my job to respond. It's not my job to judge. It's not my place to even want to say, oh, that happened to me, and close someone's loop. I really want to show up just to listen and understand somebody. And I think if more of us opened ourselves to hearing people than responding and commenting, those safe spaces can be cultivated, and you'll know exactly who you can trust. Thank you, Zizi, so much for emphasizing how important it is to find those people where you can hold space and create space. I think that was a beautiful reminder of how this proverb aligns with that. I see some new people have entered. I see Karen has entered, and Samantha, Evener, Kay. So good to see you. I see Eugene Smith, who's new to Clubhouse. Welcome to the Daily African Proverbs Room, guys. We host this room every day at 6 a.m. Pacific time, hosted by Simon, our fierce leader, our African father in America. Yes, he's the leader of the club, so tap in if you are new. We are very intentional about curating spaces where we can share the love of Africa with people from the diaspora who love the continent, who love culture, who love people. And I'm so excited because I find my people right here. I found people I can honestly, I've said stuff in this room that I've probably not said to people, my family or my friends, and sometimes I remember scrolling saying, does anyone I know in this room who's gonna share my thoughts or opinions? And I think this proverb speaks to the power of the space of when you do find places where you can share your secrets. It's truly, truly a beautiful thing. I like to think that's what we have created here in the Daily African Proverbs Room, where we take a seat at the table with our ancestors and dissect African proverbs, and we take our knowledge, everything we've learned, everything life has taught us, and we see how the ancestors can turn that into wisdom, because wisdom comes when we can take our learnings and apply it to our everyday life. And that's what makes proverbs so powerful, is there's so many meanings and so many layers behind this ever multitude of layers of onions that we're peeling, and it's always a pleasure to see how it has impacted various people who come in and share the interpretation with us. So hand raising is is shutting down in 1 minute. It's half the hour. So we're going to be shutting off hand raising. But if you would not feel like you're able to come up and share, you can click Simon's face there and you can tweet him because he is live tweeting. You can leave a comment on his Instagram, and he's even on YouTube, guys. Simon's right now live on YouTube, and one of my favorite things is that when I start the day, if you look up the proverb, you'll probably see Simon's already putting interpretations online and making sure we have a digital footprint of all the amazing things that we do in this space. So Simon does an amazing job of working behind the scenes and moderating and making this such a safe space. Simon, we never know how you do it, but I want to just check in with you and see how you're doing and pass the mic on to you.
Wow, Chido, thank you. Thank you so much for your wonderful, way of leading and, and also just being so graceful. I am grateful. I'm also grateful to my brother, Happily Peaceful, who shared with us a Kiswahili proverb that actually aligns with this one so much. This proverb in Kiswahili says, usimwage mtama penye kuku wengi. Usimwage mtama penye kuku wengi. That means that if you want to feed, chickens, you should not pour the maize flour, the grains that you want to feed the chickens with in a spot where there are so many chickens. Find spots where you have like 1 or 2 chickens and then you can pour it gently. But naturally, any chicken that does not have the grain will come to that spot. So so I just wanted to say, in response to you, Happily, once you give one chicken the grain, others are going to want it too. Anyhow, welcome to the Daily African Proverbs. This is a beautiful space that I love being present in every single day, and I'm just so excited to be here. We are discussing a Kenyan proverb, and I am from Kenya. Jacob, who is in the audience, is also from Kenya originally, and I'm excited to hear from you, Jacob. You are the first one in the room, but earlier there seemed to be some technical difficulties. We could not hear your voice, so we will hear from you shortly. But the proverb says, confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole. Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole. I want to introduce Raphael so that Raphael can also share with us his interpretation of this proverb. Raphael Hari is a stay-at-home dad. He is a podcaster and host of White Label American Podcast. And this brother of mine is a Navy veteran. His origins are tied to Nigeria and Ghana, but he lives in Brooklyn and is truly, truly an amazing storyteller, an amazing father. Yesterday, him and I were on the Instagram live where we do the recap for the Daily African Proverbs, and his daughter could not let him focus. So he had to bring her in, and it was just beautiful because she was a part of the show that we were having. And I love involving my daughters, especially when it comes to the proverbs. I'm a father of 3 girls too. They love these proverbs too. It gives us something with African origin to discuss on a day-to-day basis. But also, I apply them whenever there are issues between me and them, whenever there are triumphant moments, whenever there are things to be celebrated. I also apply some proverbs. But this one is really, really important, and this one is something I could share with my daughters, because even now, even though they are still so young, they already know, and sometimes they call me daddy. I have a secret to tell you, like the last one, she calls me daddy, I have a secret to tell you. And then I get close to her, I get my ears close to her mouth, and then she says, I peed. And then I realized that, even though she thought it was something so big, it's something really small, but she wants someone she can trust. And so I feel very special to be trusted by a 2-year-old who can tell me that her biggest accomplishment for that moment that she does not want anybody to know is that she was able to relieve herself. Anyhow, Raphael, the mic is yours, my brother. Share with us your interpretation of today's proverb.
Thank you, Brother Simon, for the wonderful introduction, and greetings to everyone. Sending love to Chido, Tara, Sean, Nyamal, Jacob, and special love to Dr. Z and my mama Zizi, who went before me. Love everybody. I have to start learning to say I love you from Mama Zizi. So, yes, I got to say it today. Um, Everything my sister Chido has said is literally what I would have loved to say. So I would just give some examples from my personal experience. So the very first day I was here, I think I mentioned um, what had happened to me when I went into podcasting, how someone stole the equipment that I was supposed to use in podcasting. He was a mentee of mine, and unfortunately, didn't work out. We even ended up in court. I won, but he still hasn't paid me to this day. But about a year, no, less than a year before the whole breakdown in the relationship happened, he, unfortunately for him, he had his youngest kid was born, and there was a health issue, and they ended up in the hospital. So I was the person bringing food to himself and his wife because the kid was barely 3 weeks old in the hospital. And so I knew that they were both worried. They had a daughter who was about 4 years old then. And I went to the hospital, brought food, like, hey, what would you guys like to eat? There was some, I just did this, something I normally do. And while in the hospital, the doctor came and was like, hey, I have some things to ask you people. So, you know, I said, okay, let me step out of the room. They were like, no, 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 he should stay. He's like his family. And that's how I got to find out something I didn't want to find out about. And when the breakdown of our relationship happened, they attacked my wife, attacked my baby. My daughter was 3 months old, and not once did it even occur to me that I had this information that happened in that I got access to when their child was down in the hospital to use as a retaliation. And even up to the point of when I won in the courthouse and we were leaving, myself and my wife and our baby, were in the parking lot, this person came and attacked me, verbally was insulting me, and then stood in front of my wife's face and spat on my wife, spat on my 3 months old daughter. And that's when I knew that my anger levels were no longer where it was because I didn't jump on him and started fighting in the courthouse. And I just told my wife, come on, go back into the courthouse, and the police had to come and escort him out. And not once did I use his secret against him. I didn't use it. I beat him with the legal, everything that everything that we went into business together. I used what we both agreed on, and he betrayed me on that. That's all I used to beat him. I never used his secret, which my wife doesn't even know of. His wife still texted my wife through the insult. And not once did it occur to me to like, oh, use this thing that happened to these people when they were down, which based on if you based on our culture, everybody who I've talked to, when I mentioned that he spat on my wife and spat on a 3 months old baby, it's like, oh yes, you can use anything, everything goes because it's like, how dare he cross that line? You help this person get into the army, you were everything for this person, and then the person was turned around and stole the equipment, stole everything, and then betrayed you by all means. So it's not like I have sleepless nights over it. I don't think about it. Just like, when this proverb came, that was the first scenario that came to my mind. And I was like, wow, it's just funny how that's what I remembered. And then the second thing is part of my job in the military, which is one reason why I don't really get overworked when people talk about president. Well, especially if they're attacking like the Democratic president. There's certain things I understand because when I was in the military, I had secret clearance. I can say it out loud. I have secret clearance. Doesn't mean I can tell you everything that I did. I didn't have top secret, which is higher than secret. But there were certain things that I had access to. So I can tell you that I saw the people who got to kill Bin Laden, but I didn't know that they were going to kill Bin Laden. The person, I know someone who was on the ship when Bin Laden's body was brought there. And that's all he can tell me, that, yes, they brought Bin Laden's body there. And then what happened after Bin Laden's body was brought there. We can tell you that it's still secret. There's levels to the secret game. And there's certain things I can release on a platform like this, and there's certain things I can release if we are talking one on one, and I know you're not recording me, and there are certain things that I will never release to you, no matter what. And if you've been on my platform when I do an Instagram live on my podcast, they always give information on how you should join. If you want to join the military, I give you like a bunch of secrets. I make it easy for immigrants and for people of color. I tell you what I didn't know, all the mistakes that I made. I give you all that. I lay it all out. There's still a whole bunch of things that I will never give you, never ever give you, because that's just the way it works. It's my there's certain paperwork that I've signed. I can never give it to you. But if you come to me one on one, which is kind of what I did for the person who stole my stuff, I will cross that line for you. I will go through certain things. I will walk you up to the river, but I will never drink on your behalf. So this proverb, in a way, ties into people who have reached out to me a lot of times. And one last example, quick example that I would throw in is being from the veteran community. That like it ties into I forgot who said it one time in this room, that whatever you do, people always watch you and look up to you without even you realizing. So I've had over 4 people reach out to me different times, different people who I've met only once in my life, who wanted to take their lives, and they send me a goodbye message. If you've stood suicide watch in the military, you've gone through the training, you start understanding, you start knowing when someone is telling you, I'm ready to kill myself. You understand that. I've had my shipmate take their life before. So someone who I met when I was in Finland is not even American military, so it's not limited to just United States. And the person told me, sent me a goodbye message on Facebook Messenger. I read it. I was like, this is definitely what I'm thinking it is. I was about to go to class, and I tried to call him. He didn't pick up. So I texted him back, like, why are you telling me goodbye? And just give me like an explanation. And that led to a whole pouring of life. Everything in life just happened in 1 week. Everything just went down. So he's lying down now with a pistol in his hand, all that. Okay, well, okay, just keep talking. That's all we did. Keep talking, and before you know it, 2 hours had gone by, 3 hours, and to this day, he's still alive. Unfortunately, he's a far right person, so I had to cut him off later on. But I say that because there are times certain people will have, certain people you attract, certain people who, it's, certain people will come to you, depending on what type of person you are. You always be, if you're the basket type, where everything leaks that comes to you, people wouldn't come bring certain things to you. People wouldn't consider you trustworthy. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not in that field because I'm in therapy too. I go to seek help. But if the Navy considered me trustworthy enough to hold clearance and keep secrets, and I was able to do that, yeah, I think other people also see value in me doing certain things. And for a long time, I had imposter syndrome that I wouldn't recognize that. So now I'm beginning to accept that it's a skill set and it's a gift, and I use it accordingly. So if someone out there needs to hear that, saying that so they can recognize and appreciate people who you can help that way. All right. Thank you, and you all have a great day. And that's all I have to say for now.
Cheetah speaking. Raphael, thank you so much for coming up and sharing the importance of being, that bag for somebody. We all need somebody to hopefully share our secrets, but call when we're in times of crisis. And that was an amazing story of how, you just happen to be there to be that person. And it just takes that one person to show up and change someone's life because they feel so safe and trusted by you. So I appreciated your interpretation. And you guys, Raphael's an amazing podcast, and he's having these kind of discussions. He always comes and shares the amazing conversations he's having with people, because I truly believe in the saying, if you want to change your life, you got to change your beliefs. And if you want to change your beliefs, you got to change your experiences. And some of the best ways that we can change our experiences is hearing other people's stories and other people's secrets. So
Oh,
thank you so
sorry.
much.
May I say something quickly? Uh, just a self plug. I release new episodes every Wednesday. I always forget to plug myself. So if you want to check out my podcast, there's a new episode out today. Sister from all over Africa. She has ties to like four African countries. So please check out White Label American Podcast. Thank you. Now I switch to the YouTube broadcast.
Thank you so much, Raphael. Please let us know where we can find you. I think you should make sure you have a link in your bio so people can tap in and actually just go and listen directly off the Clubhouse app. So please do that. Thank you for sharing and letting us know where people can listen to you. Next, we're going to hear from Tara. Tara, I'm so happy to see you on stage. Tara says, art is not what you see, but what you make others see. Oh, I love that. Tara is somebody who's always been with us for a long time. She's so passionate about the space. She even has it in her bios, guys. She even tells people to follow Simon. She's been with us since way back. We always appreciate her. Not only just showing so much love about what we do here, but some of her interests and her activism. And she's also a nerd in science and tech and fantasy, so she always brings a beautiful, fresh perspective. And Tara, it's always so great to know you and learn parts of you when you come up and share your interpretation with us. Today's proverb, I'm just going to quickly reiterate it so you can share your interpretation. Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole. I pass the mic on to you, Tara.
Thank you, Tito. I appreciate it. And before I get started, I wanted to let you know that last night I had my first dream about Daily African Proverbs Room in Cheeto. I was in my dream, I was visiting Canada, and you were competing in like a dirt bike race, and you won. And you took your helmet off, and you were like, Tara? And so I thought that was fun. And since I decided to give an interpretation, I'm like, I'm definitely going to tell her that. So thank you for gracing my dreams. So the proverb, confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole. And I'm going to come at this from a little bit different perspective because I am one of those people who is very open. I don't have secrets. I am an open book. I've in the last few years, I've had some hurt, and so I have closed myself off more, but I still yet am willing to divulge certain things in my life, and it's not because I want people to hear me and I want to be seen, although I do want those things, but I feel a big responsibility to be open for other people because a lot of things that are taboo, if we don't talk about them, if I don't talk about them in my life, then other people don't know that what they're thinking or what they're experiencing is normal. And it doesn't have to be the same thing, but it could be something like, a struggle I'm having with my spouse or an insecurity that I have or a mistake that I made. And me vocalizing that helps the other person say, oh, like, okay, well, I'm not as evil as I thought I was, or I'm not as weak or wrong, or there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's a good perspective on this, and there is something to be learned here. And so, not that I disagree with what's said, because I am learning that just because you share or just because you feel like it would be helpful to someone doesn't mean they're going to receive it. And in fact, because they're still yet insecure about whatever that issue is, they may be more likely to use it against you. But I kind of look at it as money too. When you lend money to someone, um, honestly, I don't think you should lend money to anybody. You should kind of look at it as a gift and say, this is, there are no ties to this. This is, you do whatever you want to do with it, and I'll make you responsible for it. And if you have that wealth, then to give it freely and not expect anything in return and not expect people to do a certain thing with it. So the same thing with divulging a truth or a secret or that sort of thing. Just give it to someone. If they use it against you, that's their choice. And yeah, there are going to be consequences that hurt you for it. And I've had plenty of those. But on the other hand, it can mean the difference between life and death at its root. I mean, if this is something that someone struggled with for so long that they're considering taking their life or going into self-destructive tendencies, it literally can save their life. So I get it. I get protecting yourself and I get giving it to a worthy vessel. But I, in spite of the last few years, am still optimistic that everyone is worthy and that I have gifts and that I can give them that can change their lives. So that's my interpretation of this. And again, thank you so much for welcoming me into this space. And I love this space, and I love those of you who are in here every day. And I'm complete.
Cheetah speaking. Thank you, Tara, for challenging the very guarded person that I am. I love, like I said, I envy people who can just show up as they are. I think that's a life skill that I'm trying to give myself more permission of. So I'm always encouraged from people who do that. It's very empowering for me to see, not to have that fear. And I think more people could learn a lot and grow by truly accepting who they are and showing up as so. So thank you so much for your words of encouragement to keep on practicing this, because it is a practice. It is a practice to be okay with who you are. And like you said, I think when that those secrets come out, when that person reveals to you that they can't be trustworthy, that speaks more about them than it does about you and your vulnerabilities. So I think that's something very important to consider when I'm choosing those people. But Tara, you can be one of my people. I love it. Anyone wants to open up, Tara is the right person to open up to. Thank you so much, Tara. We totally appreciate you. Next, we're going to hear from Sean. Sean, thank you so much for not being the first person on stage, because I always come in just a little bit later and everyone is gushing at whatever Sean says, and I always miss it. So I'm so happy that I'm just in time to hear you share what came up for you with this proverb. Sean has a beautiful, beautiful quote in her profile saying, "We amplify our power when we unify our vision. Faith stabilizes everything." A beautiful quote by Karen Curry Parker. The proverb today: confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying a grain in a bag with a hole. Sean, I pass the mic on to you.
Thank you so much, Cheeto. That was such a nice introduction, and that's really cool because I enjoy hearing everything you have to say too. So it's definitely reciprocated. And usually I have multiple kids on the autism spectrum, and one of them does not sleep at night. So usually I'm actually kind of just falling asleep about the same time that this place starts. So that's why I'm usually on right away, is because it's at the end, kind of the end of my day, sort of. And that's why I'm always the first, like one of the first ones to come in, because it's just automatically there for me. But today she actually was sleeping. And so I was actually asleep and it was hard for me to wake up. So that's how I ended up being late. But I hope I can share something today that you appreciate. So with me for this one today, It is an important, well, they're always important to me. I feel like I'm just saying the same things over and over again every time I say that, but uh, it is very important to me because I'm an individual who is also like Tara, a very open individual. But the way I learned to be open um, was, hi, I just so you know that I'm speaking on, okay? So anyway, but the way that I learned to be open was that when I was very young, um, it didn't matter. Uh, it was a very difficult situation that I grew up in, very difficult. And I found that it didn't matter if I kept my secrets deep inside of me or if I put them out there. Somehow they were always found out, and somehow I was always severely um, battered by them. Like they would be pulled out of me, or not necessarily pulled out of me, but found out and then spread everywhere all the time. And it put me into this really deep place of shame for a very long time until, well, for quite a while, until I came to the realization that it really didn't matter about my secrets and who I was and that kind of thing. Because if you're standing in a place where, you know, people are just going to abuse you anyway. For me, I had to learn how to stand in that place and stand in that fear and still have the strength to be able to be myself without breaking underneath that level of pressure. So at a very young age, being able to learn how to be myself and embody the fullness of myself, including all of my secrets, and being able to stand in that whirlwind of a bag with an open hole was a really profound thing for me. And it kind of contributes to my fearlessness now as an adult. But that being said, the thing about this proverb that really struck out for me was the realization that my secrets are seeds. so, so the idea of them getting out there and falling out there, no matter what the method may be, that they'll get planted. So that it's important for me to recognize the stories that I tell myself, that I tell about myself and about my experiences, and share, because they're seeds. And although I have no control over the individual, they're not there to the of them getting out there are there. So I need to make sure that the stories that I'm telling about myself, the narrative I have about myself and my experiences, are seeds that, if they were to get out, would plant and grow into, a beneficial plant that will produce a beneficial fruit. So that's where my work is taking me today, is looking at all of the stories that I tell myself and tell myself about myself to make sure that they are seeds that are fruitful and contributing to progress, and not entropy, that they're fruits and not brambles. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much, and I yield.
Cheers speaking. Thank you, Sean. I love the analogy of the seed and how it grows. There's so much self-regulation when we actually take the time to interpret our thoughts and our feelings. And our stories, our broken parts, are our superpower. Whenever I meet somebody, it's not what's wrong with you, but it's what happened to you, because a lot of us look at our secrets as these dark things that will 100% impact how we show up in the world. Some may be empowered by them, but some people may have more fear by their secrets. But I think you say it so beautifully when you're like, it is a superpower kind of analogy, that these are the beautiful parts of you that grow. And I really love the empowering message through your interpretation. I'm definitely going to be taking that with me when I'm reflecting more on this proverb. So I truly, truly appreciate you coming up and sharing your sentiments with it. And Tara, thank you for dreaming about me. I think now we're definitely crossing different dimensions when we actually dreaming about the daily African proverbs, when we showing up in our dreams and we've never met before. I think that's so telling of the kind of space we've cultivated, the kind of relationship we have here when we come up and share our knowledge, wisdom, and even our secrets. It happens all the time. I know some amazing stories and secrets from some people right here that I'm so honored that they felt vulnerable enough to share with us. Um, Jacob, are you available to share your interpretation with us? Do you want to flash your mic so I know you're there? Perfect. Perfect. Jacob is also from Kenya, and he is a creative, a media entrepreneur. He says, I'm not as beautiful as my PTR. She is my wife. She is gorgeous. I love it. You're born and raised in Kenya, and you're looking to venture into international film scene and currently working on your first film. That's so amazing, and it's entirely shot and produced in Kenya. Oh wow, I cannot wait to see what that turns out to be. So totally plug yourself in, Jacob. Today's proverb comes from Kenya. Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying a grain in a bag with a hole with it. I pass the mic on to you, Jacob. Welcome.
Hi Chido, hi Simon, hi everyone. This is Jacob speaking. I'm so happy to be in this room today. And every
Hey,
day
Jacob.
we get.
Jacob, this is Simon. Could you get closer to your mic? We can barely hear you.
Can you hear me now?
It's much better. Thank you so much.
Perfect. I think I have a problem with my earpiece, my headset. It's nice hearing from everyone, and it goes without saying. I just love listening to everyone's interpretation on everyday proverb that is posted on on this forum. And today's proverb, confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying a grain in a bag with a hole. Wow, this is such a powerful proverb, and for me, this proverb really talks about really lies on love and loyalty in friendships and family. And sometimes I ask myself, if all you had to offer to people was friendship, then who would, if all you had to offer to people was friendship, then who would still be around you? Yeah, because real situations tend to expose fake people, and so sometimes it takes a lifetime, or rather an experience of tough times, uh, to be down in life to find out who is really willing to be down with you. And for me, I believe what I've experienced is people pretend to be so well off and really loving, when in the real sense their souls are out there for sale, kinda. And this could be true to me. This could not be true to somebody else. But sometimes the people you trust the most are the people who really want to see you fail. And just because they're riding with you, not necessarily mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're riding for you. And that's a fact. Yeah. So you see the fact that people smile around us, and we tend to confide in them and tell them our secrets. Personally, I'm so mean with my secrets. I'm an introvert. I tend not to speak about the things I'm going through, because I don't know who else is gonna listen to this. Because for example, I come confide uh, in James, and James goes and confide in someone else's and pours out my secrets out there, goes out and say everything that I'm going through out there. It leaves me mentally tortured. And as a human being, we want safe spaces. We want people who we can tell our secrets and keep them. And do we have people who can keep our secrets out there anymore? I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there's not. I don't know. Be the judge. So just because people's talk appeal in our presence doesn't necessarily mean that they talk well behind our backs. And so that leaves us with no choice. Who can you trust? And I believe this proverb really talks about trust. And it talks about, that clarity in friendship, that clarity in our relationships out there. We need people who can fight for us. We need people who can hold us up when we're down. We need people who can support us when we need them and we are vulnerable. We need people who can be weak. We can be vulnerable too. And so, some of us are fighting for people that went through a pinch for us, but yet these are the ones we call quote unquote friends, maybe. And the ones that care so much about our struggles, but yet so silent when we win. The ones that probably bring gossip to us about our name. Will they ever defend our names when we are not there? Will they ever fight for us? Will they ever carry our secrets? And so for me, confiding a secret to an unworthy person, I think time tend to reveal worthy people in our presence, or rather in our lives. And whatever the bag is carrying, the grain is symbolic. It might be your secret. It might be your financial position. It might be the things you're going through. Maybe you're battling whatever diseases, whatever emotions you're battling. If you're battling depression, the things we really don't need about us, we don't really need out there. And if we find that one person, if you find that one bag, we can offload these emotions, these tough secrets, these tough talks we can never have with anyone. If you find that one bag, we can empty all these into, and this bag gets to, pour out all these things. It becomes a very huge problem. It ends up denting our souls. It ends up denting our images and our self-esteem. And as a human being, once to some people, once you lose your self-esteem, then you're done, and we don't want to lose it. So we want people who can keep our self-esteem up to par. We need people who can be there for us, because sometimes everybody in your circle might not be in your corner. And betrayal doesn't always come through unfamiliar faces. It comes from the people we interact with the most, the people we want to share stuff with, the people we want to confide in. Those are the people that sometimes tend to betray us. It might be family, it might be your best friend, it might be someone that you've known for quite a while. Yeah. So we should not be surprised when maybe God brings a stranger in your life, and they're there for you more than the person you've known for the longest time possible. So don't be surprised if your growth makes your circle smaller. And for me, I believe you have two choices in life. You either let these people break you or make you. You either let these people that you confide in make you or break you. So we have to choose wisely the kind of bag we're gonna empty our grains into. We have to be very careful with the choices we make when it comes to emptying our grains to whatever bag we choose. And if you feel that this bag is gonna empty your grains, you need those grains. So don't empty your grains into the bag. Yeah. So I think life might have taught either of you this at some certain point, that sometimes the best way to act in your life is not to add to it, but to subtract. And how are you going to subtract these people that will kind of bring holes in your bag? how are you gonna work it out to protect your heart rather than protecting other people? Because you come first as a person. You come first, and you need to try and understand that sometimes it's not about the size of your bag, but it's what you put in it, and the people who help you put whatever you put in your bag, whatever grain you're putting in your bag. So it's about loyalty. It's about commitment. For me, this proverb teaches me a lot to do with loyalty, commitment, and are you happy and comfortable to even share what you want to share? Is it okay to your mental health? Yeah, how is it going to add to your mental health? Is it going to protect your mental health, or is it going to damage your mental health? So real friends don't head on each other. They push each other to get up and go get that grain to fill up their sack. Yeah. So everybody's prayer for you should be to add on your bag. Everybody's all these people we call friends should be there to help you achieve your dreams, to support your dreams, rather than maybe draining your sack, or rather your bag. So what do I carry home today with this a beautiful proverb, African proverb? Confiding a secret to an unworthy person is like carrying grain in a bag with a hole. Is that we need to be in a position whereby we have purposeful people in our lives, people with purpose, yeah, people that add into our lives, and we add in equal measure. Because sometimes someone said something, I don't know who, I think it is Tara. Everyone is worthy, and they need to make you feel worthy at the end of the day. Everything you say, everything you do should be worthy in other people's lives. And so is the reverse. Whatever they say and they do to you should be worthy. You need to feel their presence as they feel yours. You need to fill their cup as they fill your cup. Yeah. So we all need someone to share our secrets with. We all need someone. We all need someone to confide in. No man is an island. Everyone needs someone. So whoever you allow in your circle, whoever you allow to walk into your life, should be viable, should be there to ensure that your life is up to par, that your life is healthy, your heart is healthy, and they take care of your mental state. Because we're in a world right now that the mental health is quite something, and people are broken out there. You need to make sure that you be the change. You be the change that you need in your life. So go out there, be good, add into people's lives in equal measure that you will be you would want them to add into your life. So let's confide into or rather confide to people that would also confide in us, and they will keep our secrets and we will keep theirs in return. My name is Jacob, and I'm done speaking.
Wow, Jacob, I'm so grateful you got to close us out. I think everything happened for a reason, because your interpretation was just so timely, was so powerful, and I can't even add anything. It was just so sweet and delicious and insightful, and I totally appreciate you put a lot of thought and interpretation into such a powerful proverb, and you just elevated it and tied it up with a beautiful bow for us to conclude. today's Daily African Proverbs Room. I appreciate you. I appreciate Dr. Cynthia. I appreciate Tara. I appreciate you, Sean. Hi, Jay. See you're here. I appreciate you, Happily, Evener, Karen, Samantha, Fido, Patrice, Douglas. I see we Kinsha, yay! You have to come up and make me say your name correctly. Thank you so much for everyone who actively listened or came up on stage and poured into us. You're so appreciated. My heart is full. I've got a lot that I learned just from today from everyone. I'm so grateful. And I pass the mic to you, Simon.
Chido, this is Simon speaking. I am so grateful for your leadership. And Jacob, you really, the timing of your share was perfect. I feel like you summarized everything everybody said. So thank you again for being here from the beginning to the end of today's Daily African Proverbs. It's been an amazing conversation. And I also want to thank you all. And I want you to join us on Instagram, where we are going to share the recap of today's discussion. The guest there, we are going to have Joanne, who has been on Clubhouse for maybe a little over 2 weeks now. But one of the first spaces she came to was the Daily African Proverbs. She's in Nairobi. She's going to play the role of the Kikombe. She's going to share with us what stood out during today's conversation. She's going to share with us what was surprising, and also what was the biggest lesson that she learned during today's conversation. And we also invited Raphael to also just share with us a nugget of the powerful story that he shared with us earlier in this room. So if you have a moment, join us there. It's going to be about a 10 to 15 minute conversation. Thank you all so much. See you tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. In case you missed parts of today's conversation, it's going to be on YouTube right after this conversation. And my YouTube channel is Simon Javan Okelo. You can catch the whole conversation there. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch the new episodes of the Daily African Proverbs there, as well as some other content that I'm putting out. I want to give a shout out to everybody on YouTube who are still keeping us company. It means a lot that we are able to bring this conversation to people who are not on Clubhouse. There are people who are unable to join Clubhouse, even though it's open to everyone now. There are people who don't just have the privilege to be on Clubhouse. Their phones cannot use Clubhouse. Anyhow, so thank you all for being here with us, and our job here really is to continue changing the narrative about Africa, one proverb at a time. So thank you, and take great care of yourselves. See you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Peace and love.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington.